Hey everyone, my name is Shreya, and I'm a part of the Memphis Junior Science Association. So, as most of you know, the coronavirus pandemic has caused many of us to be homebound. So, MJSA will be providing virtual lessons to keep young kids like you motivated to learn about science. So, for the next few weeks, we will be covering the anatomy of the human body. So, the first body system that we're going to be covering today is the skeletal system. Now, have you guys ever wondered how our body moves? So take a few minutes to think about that. So our body movements are the primary functions of the bones in the skeletal system. Our skeletal system has other functions as well, such as the protection of our internal organs. Now, here's a fun fact that not many people know. So newborn babies are usually born with 270 bones in their body, but as they grow into adulthood, it decreases to 206 bones. So here we have an image of the skeletal system, and we see what it actually looks like without our skin and muscles. So I'm going to give you guys a basic rundown of some examples of bones in our bodies and what their functions are. So first up we have the skull, and its main function is to protect the brain and the soft tissues of the head, and it also forms a passage for entry to the respiratory and digestive system. And next up we have the spine, which is composed of 26 bones, and its primary function is to support the mass of the body, the head, and it withstand any external forces, and it also protects the spinal cord and its nerves. Next up we have the chest, and which is composed of ribs and the breastbone. So ribs surround the chest, enabling the lungs to expand and thus facilitate breathing by expanding the chest cavity. And the breastbone's function is to serve to protect organs such as the heart and the lungs. So next up we're going to be talking about the bones in our arms. So first up we have the shoulder blades. And the shoulder blade's primary function is to be a joining force between the clavicle and the humerus, which is another part of our arms as well. And next up we have the collarbones, which is a largely double curved long bone that connects the arm to the trunk of the body and acts as a strut to keep the scapula in place so the arm can hang freely. So next up we have the pelvis, and the pelvis is consisted of the sacrum and the coccus. So the pelvis has several important functions, but its primary role is to support the weight of the upper body when sitting and to transfer this weight to the lower limbs when standing. And after that, we are going to talk about the hands. In specific, we're going to talk about the carpal bones, which facilitate the positioning of the hand and powerful use to the extensors. And finally, we're going to be talking about the bones in our hands, which otherwise are known as the carpal bones, which facilitate the positioning of the hand and powerful use to the extensors and the flexors of the forearm. And the mobility of individual carpal bones increases the movements at the wrist as well. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to our activity, which is to make a pasta version of the skeletal system. And I'm going to be asking you guys some review questions to make sure you guys were paying attention. So first, you guys are going to need some spaghetti and two kinds of pasta. One small and one big piece of pasta. So first we're going to use one piece of spaghetti to convey the spine. So can you guys tell me how many bones the spine is comprised of? Take a few minutes to think about that. So if you said 26, you are correct. So now take a few pieces of the small pasta and make a small circle to represent the skull. Can you guys name one function of the skull? If you said to protect the brain, if you haven't already done so, make sure you have one big piece of pasta to represent the pelvis. Now, can you guys name two parts of the pelvis that we talked about and one function? So, two parts of the pelvis are the sacrum and the coccus, and the pelvis also has several important functions, but its primary role is to support the weight of the upper body. So far we have covered talking about the skull, the pelvis, and the spine. And now we're going to be moving on to talk about the ribs, which is a part of the chest area. So can you guys tell me one function of the ribs? So ribs surround the chest and they enable the lungs to expand, and they also protect like our interior organs such as our lungs and other internal organs. So now that we're done with the ribs, can you guys tell me what the pieces of pasta over here represent? The ones that I'm laying down near the skull. If you said shoulder blades, you are correct. So the shoulder blades serve as a joining force between the clavicle and the humerus. And they're obviously part of the shoulder area. So now that we're done talking about the shoulder blades, we're going to take two pieces of spaghetti and we're going to connect them together to represent our radius and ulna. Now, I haven't talked about this before, but I'm going to mention it because I feel like it's a bit more complex. So the radius is a more lateral and shorter, and it's slightly shorter than the two forearm bones. But the main function of this is that it allows the hand to rotate to pivot at the wrist, which is the function of the radius. Now, the ulna is located on the opposite side of the forearm from the thumb, and it joins with the humerus on the larger end to make the elbow joint. And the ulna also enables the wrist joint to rotate. So as we're moving down to the lower part of our forearm, we have our wrist bones, which are also known as carpal bones. Can you guys name one function of the carpal bones? So the carpal bones help increase the movements at the wrists. So now that we're done covering the bones of the upper body, we're going to be covering the bones of the lower body now. Now, the piece that I'm putting connected to the pelvis is known as the femur, which is also known as the thigh bone. So now, the femur is known to be the longest, heaviest, and strongest bone in the entire body, and all of the body's weight is supported by femurs during many activities such as running, jumping, walking, or standing. So the next part I'm putting down is the patella. We're going to take a small piece of spaghetti and connect that to the femur. Now the patella has two main functions. It contributes in leg extension and protection. So after the patella and the femur, we're going to be talking about the fibula, which is a part of our lower leg. And the fibula's role is to act as an attachment for the muscles, as well as providing stability of the ankle joint. This is what your final product should look like, and now all you have to take is super glue or some sort of glue and stick all the pieces together. Your final product should be looking like this picture when it's all glued up. So there you have it. There's your pasta skeletal system.